Well, welcome back, everyone. You know, a lot of history in our area, for sure. And everyone thinks about Saratoga, horse racing and all that. But the real commercial center of our region, especially at the turn of the century, was Glens Falls, where the mills were, where some of the factories were, the timber, old money, and absolutely stunning architecture and a wonderful history. And joining me today is a guy I've known for a long time, Tim Widener, who is the executive director of the Chapman Museum, which is really the hub in Glens Falls for all the things related to the history of the city. Right, Tim?
Yeah, it's great to be here today.
It's great to have you back. Tim's here today because we were talking about something you've been doing all summer long, a bit of an experiment, but I guess it's turning out to be a good one, which is these walking tours. Tell us, you've done a few of them so far. How have they gone?
They've gone really well. People have really loved them. We've really liked the response that we've heard after they were over. We talked to people, get a sense of what they thought of them. It's something we're trying new this year, so we want to fine-tune it with the hope it's something we'll be able to offer on a continuing basis in future years as well.
Now, you've done 6 of them so far.
Yes.
We've got 2 coming up. One on Friday, the 21st, and one on Saturday, the 29th.
That's right.
What time are you gathering people?
Start at 10 o'clock in the morning.
At the Chapman Museum.
Start at the museum. It takes about an hour and a half to get through the tour. And it's certainly something that's manageable. There's no steep hills or anything involved.
Right.
But people do need to be prepared that they're going to be walking slowly. We don't make anybody sprint to keep up.
Yeah, I got it. Well, considering the fact that the people who are thirsty for this kind of knowledge tend to be my age, Tim. So, take it easy, okay?
Yeah.
No stressful running up and down Glen Street, okay?
I don't want it to be anything that I can't do myself.
I got you. There are so many amazing buildings because of what I said at the beginning of this interview. Give us a sense of what this is. This is a mix of, you were saying, commercial and residential, and some buildings that were commercial and now residential and vice versa, correct?
Well, I think one of the biggest themes that I think of as I go through it is that when it comes to the built environment, we're really talking about change. For example, one of the first things we see when we start out, and we want people to really look closely and try to discover things as we go along. So we'll point out a feature. For example, we leave the museum and go down Glen Street a short ways, and surrounding the parking lot for the big 10-story office tower that's there is a row of fence posts that are made out of a red sandstone, I think.
Yeah,
and we'll ask people, like, why do you think these are here?
Yeah, sure.
And the point being is that prior to there being a large office tower built on that location, there was a wonderful old house built with similar materials, and that really helps us to introduce the idea that things do change over time.
And wonderful old buildings. I'm thinking of Ordway Hall, of course, which is now where Spot Coffee is a prime example. McEachran House, which is now, I think, the Morgan
and Company yes.
restaurant. That home has an amazing history. And you were mentioning some of the very interesting buildings along Maple.
One of them, it's currently being used for office space, but when it was originally built, it was built as a carriage house for Henry Crandall, a well-known, made a fortune in the timber industry and became a very charitable individual. Crandall Library is named after him. We have a park, Crandall Park, named after him.
I've got a list here, and you can get this. Make sure that you contact the Chapman Museum. But it looks like there's up to like 25 stops along the tour. Wonderful things. The Empire Theater. If you know Glens Falls, you know what I'm talking about. Glens Falls Trust Company. The William Woods House is a very interesting building. And, of course, some of the churches like St. Mary's Church are included on the tour. Really, the downtown Glens Falls has some of the finest architecture I think that you'll see any place in the Northeast, right?
It has a really nice mix. People, when they come to go out to eat or spend a little time there, they're always impressed on what we've been able to keep. We didn't destroy it all with urban renewal. I think one thing that's special about the tour, and I didn't want to forget about this, is that there's a little wrinkle that we've thrown in. Every fall we do a cemetery tour in Glens Falls. This year it'll be in Queensbury, and we work with the local theater company. We develop characters, and they wear historic costumes, and they portray the characters. Well, we've included historic characters in this tour. So as partway through the tour, you'll actually encounter somebody in a historic costume. One of them this year was a woman named Eva King, who was a suffragette. And she gets to talk about that part of the history of the community and how it relates to the Baptist Church, which is where
that was sort of a center for the suffragette movement, wasn't it? That
it
church?
Was, yeah.
That's right.
You would never know, but
no,
it's part of the story.
Right.
Or you might meet a young man named Theodore Dorlong, who was in business with his father, a hardware business. Coincidentally, their home was the beginning of our museum as well, and you can tour through the house if you'd like and learn about the Longs there. But he talks about goes into it much more. It talks about the family history and how they were burned out by the fire in 1864 that burned the whole center of the city. But being in the hardware business, they were able to, everybody basically ran their businesses out of tents until they could rebuild quickly. And they did very well helping to provide materials for the rebuilding of the city.
Well, Tim, thanks for coming in, and we'll see you on the tour.
Great.
Thanks. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.